It's lovely to finally have you. As you know, my name is Seipati and I am the Chief Executive of Southern African Women in Leadership. It is such an honor and a privilege to have you be part of the inaugural SAWIL Trailblazers Awards finalists. How do you feel?
I feel very honored, and it was such a surprise for me, and I'm honored to meet you, Seipati.
Oh, thank you so much. Congratulations. So the process is that I'm going to hand over to Andy to do the interview. Andy is my partner co-pilot for the interview process, but he is from the Brough Leadership Institute. So he'll do the formal side of things. But before I hand you over to him, just quickly tell us and the audience and people voting for you who Zanele is and what earned her a seat at this table.
Okay, so I am a young African leader as proclaimed by the Mandela Washington Fellowship that I took place in 2019 last year. I was one of the 7 people who made it in Eswatini out of 35,000 young people worldwide who Africa-wide who applied for the fellowship. So I am the national director for an organization, a non-governmental organization called Women in Law in Southern Africa, which is a regional organization that deals with women's rights and advocates for women's issues in Eswatini. I got voted in by one of the officers within the office. It was a pleasant surprise because I had just taken on being the director of the organization, and she felt as though it was the right person to take on, and she voted for me. And I was very surprised when I got the email from you because she hadn't told me.
That's nice. Wow. So, okay. What exactly do you do at this organization? I know you're saying you recently started, but can you tell us a little bit more about it? What does it entail? The advocacy in itself, and how does it change women's lives is it just Eswatini?
Yes. So we operate in Eswatini, but we're part of a regional group of 8 other organizations: Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, Lesotho, Botswana, and Zambia. So what we do at Women in Law, we advocate for women's place on the table on leadership. We also do action research so that we can be able to include women in all decision-making and in all policies in the country. We also have a legal aid facility, which is not fully operational, but we try to give women and the general public legal assistance and advice and connect them with lawyers and any law firms that are willing to do pro bono work, because these are very marginalized people, and we give advice to everyone, but we connect to lawyers, people that can't afford legal representation. But we also have an extension to community level, which are our paralegals that we train on the laws in the country. Right now, the most prominent law that we've trained them on that came into effect in 2018 is the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act. Like South Africa, Swaziland is really struggling with gender-based violence, and it's been heightened by COVID, as we know. But WILFA is able to advocate and also just be an extension of any legal assistance that people need at community level through the paralegal work. So I just took on as the national director of the organization. However, the organization has been existing for quite some time, since 2014, but the regional organization has been existing since 1981.
Wow,
so it's quite old.
Thank you for that, Zanele. Andy, over to you.
Thank you for that background. We really appreciate that, Zanele. I want to change tack now and ask you to talk a little bit about your role as a field coordinator in the Health Research Organization. What are you doing there in terms of training young women, particularly in terms of business and life skills?
Okay, so I have an initiative called Women Working Together, where we try to instill self-awareness and heighten the self-esteem of young women and also train them on business. This, of course, has been my passion and what I was doing before this role. And what we would do is host events, national events. We would have a prominent speaker or someone that people look up to. And then we'd also have community events where we would try to get a role model for the girls within communities and kind of like basically train them on self-awareness and how they can believe in themselves and be able to attain anything that they would like to attain.
So, I mean, you've been working across a number of frontiers. We've heard about the legal side.
Yeah.
We've heard about this community side. You've also been involved in working around HIV/AIDS awareness as an.
Yes, I have. And I've had the privilege of writing 2 papers on HIV and AIDS, which were led by Shona Horta through the Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, Doctors Without Borders, in Hlangano, Eswatini. So basically, in that research, it was more qualitative research. I am a fond person of qualitative research, as I just completed my sociology degree, because it gets to actually touch what people actually feel about HIV and AIDS and about treatment specifically. So the 2 papers I was assistant in writing in, one was on the linkage to care from community level to facility, and the other one was on mother to child transmission of HIV and AIDS. And it was very insightful to work in that field and to get people's perspective.
So, Zanele, let's look back now at where you've come over the last few years. What advice would you give to aspiring women who look at what you've achieved in Eswatini and they too want to follow in your footsteps? What would you say to them?
I would just say to women, like failure is actually not a way of discouraging you. It's actually God's way of giving you an opportunity to take another direction. I have failed in my life. I mean, my first attempt at university, I didn't really want to do the law degree, but it was kind of like the only thing I could do at the time. But that failure made me to succeed in other fields and in other aspects of my life. That's when I started doing qualitative research. And that's when people saw the potential of helping people, and I was exposed to Eswatini more, and I gained a passion of people and working at community level. So without failure, I would not have reached where my potential is. So I would say to everyone, do not look at failure as a downgrade or as something that is there to oppress you. Look at the other coin of failure, pointing you in your direction, and discover your purpose through your failures.
Zanele, Thabede, Vilakati, we want to thank you for joining us on the interview today, and on behalf of SAWIL Trailblazers, wish you every success with the finals.